Before our wedding rehearsal, she said, "Don't wait up tonight. I'm going out with my ex. It's just for closure." I didn't argue. But the next morning, when she walked down the aisle, it wasn't me waiting for her. I'm the kind of guy who believes in clear lines. You're either in or you're out. You're either with me or you're not. For 3 years, I thought Emily was with me. We built a good life. I run a small engineering firm, and the work is demanding, but it's stable. It allowed us to have a nice house and to plan the kind of wedding she said she always dreamed of. I'm a planner. I like details, I like logistics, and I like knowing where I stand. Emily was always more of a go-with-the-flow type. I thought it was a good balance. I was the anchor and she was the sail. Her ex-boyfriend, a guy named Greg, was always a footnote in our story that she refused to erase. They had dated for years before me, and according to her it ended badly, but she was totally over it. Still, his name would pop up now and then. A text on her birthday. An accidental like on an old photo. I never liked it, but I trusted her. I believed that our future was more important than her past. That trust evaporated 24 hours ago. It was Friday night, the night of our wedding rehearsal. We were standing in the church where we were supposed to get married the next day. Our families were there, the wedding party was there, and everything was going smoothly. We ran through the ceremony, we practiced the vows, and we all went to the rehearsal dinner. Everything felt normal. After the dinner, as we were saying goodbye to our parents, Emily pulled me aside. She was already dressed to go out, not to go home. "Hey," she said, her tone a little too casual. "Don't wait up for me tonight." I was confused. "What do you mean? We have to be up at the crack of dawn. The wedding is tomorrow." She wouldn't meet my eyes. She just fiddled with the strap on her purse. "I know, it's just, Greg is in town," he called. "He wants to meet up for a drink, just for closure. Had to officially close that chapter before I start a new one with you." I just stared at her. The night before our wedding, she wanted to go meet her ex-boyfriend for closure. The sheer, breathtaking disrespect of it was stunning. The audacity. It wasn't a question, it was a declaration. She was telling me what she was doing, not asking for my permission. My best man, my brother, was standing a few feet away and overheard. The look on his face was a mirror of the shock I felt. But I didn't explode. I didn't yell. In that moment, as she stood there waiting for me to make a scene, a strange and total calm descended over me. The emotional part of my brain just went silent, and the logistical, problem-solving part took over. This wasn't a relationship issue to be worked through. This was a catastrophic systems failure, and I was the engineer who had to deal with it. I looked at her, and I gave her a small, tight smile. "Okay," I said, my voice even. "I understand. You do what you need to do." She looked surprised, then relieved. She was expecting a fight. When she didn't get one, she thought she'd gotten away with it. "Really? Oh, thank you for being so understanding," she said, giving me a quick, dismissive kiss on the cheek. "I won't be late." She walked off, got into a rideshare, and was gone. My brother came over, his eyes wide. "Are you seriously okay with that?" "No," I said, pulling out my phone. "I'm not, but I'm not going to argue about it. I'm going to fix it." He looked confused. "Fix it? The wedding is in 12 hours. "Exactly," I said, already scrolling through my contacts. "That's just enough time." She wanted closure. I was about to give it to her. The most permanent, public, and unforgettable closure she could ever imagine. Update 1. The moment Emily's car turned the corner, I went into mission mode. The next 12 hours would be a masterclass in logistical warfare. My brother, bless his heart, just stared at me, waiting for instructions like a soldier waiting for orders. "First things first," I said. "We need to know where she is, and we need to get in touch with the ex." Finding her was easy. She had the Find My Friends app active on her phone, a detail she had clearly forgotten. A few taps and I had her location, a dimly lit cocktail bar downtown called The Alibi. The irony was not lost on me. Finding Greg, the ex, was a bit trickier. I didn't have his number, but I knew his last name and where he worked. A quick search online brought up his professional profile. He was a sales guy, and his profile picture showed a man with a confident, slightly arrogant smile. The kind of guy who probably thought he was the hero of every story. This was a weakness I could exploit. I used a burner app to get a temporary phone number. I sent him a text. "Hey Greg, this is Sarah, one of Emily's bridesmaids. This is gonna sound crazy, but Em is having a full-blown meltdown. She's supposed to get married tomorrow, but she's in love with you. She's at the alibi right now, but she's too scared to tell you the truth. She's terrified of her fiancé. He's a really controlling guy. She wants you to save her, but she'll never admit it. You need to be her hero. It was a gamble, but I was betting on his ego. A man like Greg wouldn't be able to resist the chance to be the white knight, to swoop in and save the woman who got away from her boring, controlling fiancé. While I waited for his response, I assembled my own team. I called my 3 groomsmen and my father. I told them exactly what had happened and what I was about to do. There was a moment of stunned silence, followed by a chorus of unanimous, furious support. My dad, a man of few words and decisive action, just said, "Tell me what you need, son." The plan was simple in concept, but complex in execution. The wedding was not being canceled, it was being repurposed. I sent a mass text to every single guest on my side of the family. Urgent update. The wedding plans have changed. This is not a joke. The ceremony tomorrow is not for me and Emily. It is now a surprise celebration of Emily's closure. Please, trust me. Come to the church as planned. Do not, under any circumstances, contact Emily or her family. Just come, sit on the groom's side, and enjoy the show. More details to follow. Next, I dealt with the finances. I logged into my bank account and put a stop payment on every check I had written for the wedding vendors. I then called the 24-hour fraud alert line for my credit card, the one on file with the venue and the caterer. I reported the card stolen. This would ensure that any attempt to charge it the next day would be declined. The contracts were in both our names, but the payment methods were all mine. I was surgically removing myself from the financial equation. My phone buzzed. It was Greg. Who is this really? Is this a joke? Emily is right here. I texted back from my burner number. Of course she's with you. She's putting on a brave face. Ask her if she's truly happy. Ask her if she wishes things were different. She'll deny it. But look in her eyes. She's trapped. Tomorrow morning, she's supposed to be at the Grand Cathedral at 11 a.m. If you're the man she thinks you are, you'll be there too. At the altar, waiting for her. I knew Emily. After a few drinks, she would be sentimental and emotional. She would say all the things Greg wanted to hear. She would feed his ego, and he would swallow it whole. The final piece of the puzzle was my own disappearance. While my groomsmen were fielding confused calls from my relatives and reassuring them that I was okay, I was at home, packing. I threw a suitcase together with my essentials. I then went into my home office and shredded every shared document we had. I packed up my personal computers and my work files. I left one thing on the kitchen counter. It was the wedding album from my parents' wedding. I opened it to a picture of them on their wedding day, looking at each other with so much love and respect. Underneath it, I left my engagement ring. I was out of the house by 3 a.m. I drove to my brother's place, left my car in his garage, and he drove me to the airport. I had used my airline miles to book a one-way ticket to Costa Rica, the destination of our now defunct honeymoon. As I sat in the airport lounge watching the sun begin to rise, my phone buzzed one last time. It was a text from Greg. "I'm in. I'll be there." I smiled, turned my phone off, and boarded the plane. The show was about to begin, and for the first time in a long time, I was just a member of the audience. Update 2. I landed in Costa Rica to the sweet, sweet bliss of a phone that had been turned off for 8 hours. I was sitting at a beachside bar, a cold beer in my hand, when I finally turned it back on. The digital explosion was immediate and glorious. It was a tidal wave of missed calls, voicemails, and texts. My brother had been feeding me updates from the ground via a messaging app. The scene at the church, he said, was something out of a movie. Emily's guests had arrived, all dressed up and excited. My side of the church was also full, but with a very different energy. My family and friends were sitting in quiet, buzzing anticipation. They knew something was about to happen. Greg, true to his word, had shown up. He was standing at the altar, looking nervous but determined, dressed in a slightly too tight suit he had probably bought that morning. The officiant, a man who was very confused, was trying to have a whispered conversation with him. And then the music started. The doors at the back of the church opened, and there was Emily in her white dress looking radiant. She started her walk down the aisle, beaming at all of her friends and family. She was so focused on her grand entrance that she didn't look at the altar until she was about halfway down. According to my brother, the moment she saw Greg is a moment that will be studied by scientists for generations. Her face went through about 15 different emotions in 3 seconds: confusion, shock, horror, and finally, a dawning, sickening understanding. The music faltered and then stopped. A wave of whispers went through the church. Her father, standing beside her, looked from her to Greg, his face a mask of fury. Emily reportedly just stood there, frozen in the middle of the aisle. Greg, realizing that this was not the romantic rescue he had envisioned, just gave a weak, helpless shrug. And then, my father stood up. He had a microphone that my brother had arranged with the church's sound guy. His voice boomed through the silent cathedral. "Good morning, everyone," he said, his voice full of calm authority. "It seems there has been a change of plans. My son, the groom, was informed last night that his fiancée needed to get closure with her ex-boyfriend. He decided to be supportive. He understood that closure is important, so he arranged for her to have it right here, right now. It appears this is the wedding she truly wanted. So on behalf of my son, I'd like to say congratulations to the happy couple." He sat down. The church was in chaos. Emily's family was screaming. Greg was trying to sneak out a side door, and Emily just burst into tears right there in the middle of the aisle. The aftermath was a financial and social nightmare for her. The venue, the caterer, the florist, they all tried to charge the credit card on file, which was of course declined. The contracts, which her father had co-signed, suddenly became his problem. He was on the hook for a 6-figure wedding that had ended in a public implosion. My brother told me that Emily's father called him, screaming and threatening lawsuits. My brother just calmly replied, "Your daughter went out with her ex-boyfriend the night before her wedding. Liam didn't cancel anything. He just declined to participate. You should be thanking him. He saved your daughter from a lifetime of being married to a man she clearly doesn't respect." The story spread through our town like a virus. Emily, who had always cared so much about her image, was now the woman who was left at the altar by 2 different men on the same day. I spent the next 2 weeks in Costa Rica. I went surfing, I hiked in the rainforest, and I drank a lot of good coffee. I didn't answer a single one of the hundreds of messages from Emily or her family. My lawyer handled everything. He sent them a formal letter stating that our engagement was officially terminated due to her actions. He also sent her a bill for her half of all the shared wedding planning expenses that I had paid for out of my own pocket. When I finally came home, the dust had started to settle. My house was quiet. Her things were still there, a sad monument to a life that was now over. I hired a company to pack it all up and put it in storage. I sent her the key with no note. Final update: it's been 6 months since the wedding that wasn't. The silence in my life has been profound and wonderful. I focused on my work, reconnected with friends, and enjoyed the simple pleasure of a drama-free existence. The legal threats from Emily's family went nowhere. My lawyer easily shut down their claims. They had no legal ground to stand on. In the end, they were forced to pay off all the wedding vendors themselves to avoid being sued. The financial hit was, I'm told, catastrophic for her father's pride and his bank account. Emily's life, from what I've heard through the grapevine, is a mess. She and Greg are not together. He was furious at being used as a pawn in her drama and wants nothing to do with her. She had to move back in with her parents, and the atmosphere in that house is reportedly Arctic. She tried to launch a smear campaign against me online, but it was quickly shouted down by my friends and family, who were all too happy to share the real story of what happened. The most telling moment came about 2 months ago. I was at a hardware store, and I ran into one of her bridesmaids, the one named Sarah, who had texted me from the burner phone. She saw me and looked like she wanted to run and hide. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice friendly. She looked up, surprised. "Oh hey," she mumbled. "Look, about what happened, I'm so sorry. We all told her it was a terrible idea to go out with him, but she wouldn't listen. She said you were so predictable that you would just get mad and then get over it." I just nodded. She was half right. I didn't get mad. "Yeah," she said with a sad little smile. "I know, she really underestimated you. And that was it, really. She thought I was predictable. She thought my love and my commitment were things she could put on a shelf, take down when she wanted, and expect them to be there. She thought my boundaries were suggestions, not rules. I didn't set out to orchestrate some grand humiliating revenge. I just made a logical decision based on the data she gave me. She showed me, with her actions, that her past was more important to her than our future. So I gave her what she wanted. I gave her a future with her past. I'm dating someone new now. It's early, but it's different. It's built on honesty and clear lines. The other day, she asked me about my last relationship. I just told her the truth. I told her I was supposed to get married, but on the day of the wedding, I decided to go on my honeymoon alone instead. She laughed and said it was the most sensible, insane thing she had ever heard. And I guess it was. Sometimes, the most logical solution is the one that looks the craziest from the outside. But from where I'm standing, it looks like the best decision I ever made.